Okay, everybody get seated if you will. Are going to get started. Already too late. Okay, I took some serious liberties just to post something personal up there. I have this extra display unit that came off of my Model Y, and it's totally surplus at this stage because I don't have my Model Y. Jorge has it now. And again, so if anybody is interested in this display unit that goes on your steering wheel and mirrors what's in your central large screen display, that it stays more in your line of sight. They're $550 on Amazon, what I paid, and I'd be very happy to take it for $350. Can we have the next slide, please? Next slide. Okay, here's what we're going to try to do for the agenda. We only have a very small subset of our youth, but I do want to welcome them and take the youth production winners. Can you wave at me? 1, 2. Okay, most of them, several of them are here. Anyway, you guys will be last on the agenda. I'm going to shift. No, excuse me. I'm moving you up to the 6:35, so you'll be right after the PG&E presentation, because essentially I'm going to try to allow one of the other presenters on that full self-driving to get back from running an errand here in the middle of the meeting. Okay, other announcements. Specifically, what has been obvious with a couple of little glitches tonight is we need more help on the board. We are desperate to have more help on the board. And the kinds of assistance, interests that we're needing for support are negotiating with sponsors and basically helping to coordinate volunteers, but sponsor outreach. We also need our treasurer has spread himself too thin. He's got multiple jobs and he's got to back off. So it's not a terribly heavy job because we don't spend much money and plow much money through, but it is helpful.
I was just say on the treasurer sponsor outreach. I'm the treasurer of the for sponsor outreach on it. When I first started volunteering at SacEV, was a great thing. It's not a full-time job, but it's not like me. But doing stuff like the multi-professional, we did the support to make sure that it goes smoothly and as easy as possible. Like George said, it's not a whole lot of work. I'm just getting myself into it.
And one of the things that several of us try to do with enthusiasm, and I'm walking over to one of the people that's really good on this, is Eugene Dunlap, and I and random others are always trying to find dealers who will bring us the newest cars to show. And we'd really like to have somebody on the board who is willing to do that or eager and excited about doing something like that on a regular basis, because we'll help, but we're doing all these other things. So again, this group operates on the enthusiasm of literally about 5 people. And some of you are on other volunteer groups, you know it works that way, but we burned out several people. And I'm looking at one of our strong board members from the past who, had it, paid his dues, highway, smarter man than I. So again, please don't be shy. We do need some more help. Okay, what I'd like to do is switch over. I want to thank the Auto Museum, as always, for hosting us. We have a commitment from them to be our site host for the next 5 years, which, again, even the more modest, and this group is way better than 2 months ago, and we, for many years, were hosted by the Nissan Fuel Cell Partnership, courtesy of Robert there, who was a longtime employee, that room held 20 plus people. And we would fill it and feel good, but we're bigger than that. And this has been a wonderful setting. We really appreciate them putting up with us and doing this regularly. And I want to also extend my thanks and bring Sarah. Where are you, Sarah? Sarah is our representative for PG&E, and PG&E is sponsoring food and drink for tonight, which we're trying to go out and get. That was another little glitch in programming for tonight. But Sarah is going to present us on a long overdue summary of what PG&E has been doing, what it will be doing in terms of promoting electric vehicles. Because for most of California, the power force in electrification and providing electrification is not SMUD, it's PG&E. So Sarah, thank you.
Thank you. Very excited to be here. I'm Sarah Swickard. I'm on PG&E's Clean Energy Transportation team. I should have kind of like a cover slide that you can probably move to. But my team at PG&E touches everything EV, from policy to strategy to implementation of our customer programs to help support adoption and installation of EV charging infrastructure. That's me. I have prepared slides on kind of a few different things in those categories, but feel free to ask questions while I'm presenting, guide me to what you would find interesting to hear about instead of just me presenting on everything. There it is. Okay, next slide. So I'd like to start with this one of like, why do we care about electric vehicles? And at least from PG&E's perspective, is transportation is the largest source of emissions in California. On this right-hand graph of the circle, the bottom blue is transportation. So close to 40% of the GHG emissions in California is coming out of the transportation sector. On the left side, you see transportation all the way at the top. While it has declined in emissions, it is still much, much higher than any of the other sectors. So in terms of addressing climate change and cleaning the air, this is the sector that we think has a big impact. We being PG&E, being customers, you all as well as the state, the Governor Newsom recently issued an executive order setting some pretty ambitious goals for electric vehicles. So in his executive order, we now have a goal of 100% zero emission vehicle sales by 2035 for passenger vehicles. We have a goal of 100% zero emission operations of off-road and drayage trucks, which are the vehicles that go to ports, by 2035. And then 100% zero emission vehicle operations for basically everything else, the medium and heavy duty sector, by 2045. So these are pretty ambitious goals, both for the automakers to start supplying the market with the vehicles, for the utilities to figure out how to make sure our grid can support the vehicles, and for fleet owners to figure out how to begin integrating electric vehicles into their business operations. Next slide. Awesome. So EVs in PG&E service territory. Right now, or as of July of 2021, we have 366,000 in our service territory. The slide on the left shows cumulative new EV registrations. We did see a big drop in 2020 due to COVID and shelter in place and the impact to the economy. But as you can see on that left-hand slide there, the growth back in 2021 has been significant. And in fact, in Q1 and Q2 of this year, EV sales were higher than in any previous year. So we have seen a huge rebound of interest in electric vehicles, especially among consumers, which is really exciting, and exciting to see the electric vehicle sector rebound even stronger than internal combustion engines. So I did a little stat of one back. Just EVs in Yolo County and Sacramento County. You guys are important in contributing to that number, and we expect to see this continue growing. Next slide, thanks. So how is PG&E going to support going from the 366 100,000 in our service territory to 100% zero emission vehicle sales. While we are committed to supporting EV adoption and maintaining affordability of our electric rates in doing so, and the mechanics of that is we invest in infrastructure to support EV charging, and the electric load from the vehicles is put on the grid and helps reduce the rates for customers. So more electric load on the grid helps bring the rates down while we invest in the infrastructure to support the electric load. In addition to kind of that mechanics of rate, we also support EV adoption in a few different ways. So we want to be the trusted energy advisor for customers. We want to be able to provide resources and information and tools for residential customers interested in buying an EV or a fleet owner in electrifying. We also want to help reduce the cost of electrifying for our customers. We do that through rates, making sure we have good rate structures that make it affordable to charge when we need to, as well as providing some rebates. Rebates for vehicles, rebates for charging stations, rebates for the infrastructure. Other categories is we want to make sure the grid is ready, so that's making sure we have enough capacity to serve all the vehicles, making sure our grid and our processes for interconnection are the best in the business. And then, of course, our bread and butter is actually installing the infrastructure to enable EV charging. So getting out there and doing service connection to your home when we install a level 2 charger, or in some of our programs we do the installation of the actual chargers as well, not just the connection to the grid. So starting with that, trusted energy advisor, there are a lot of words on this slide, but I believe you got maybe a PDF of it, and there are some links that might be helpful if you are interested in EVs. I think I'm talking to a very educated group of EVs. You could probably school me on some information, but just wanted to highlight a few resources that you could share with others that could be helpful on PG&E's webpage. So we have kind of an EV checklist that can help you walk through what you need to think through if you're looking to switch to an electric vehicle. We have a very cool EV savings calculator that you can browse for different models, choose your model, choose your charging behavior, choose how much you drive, choose your rate, and you can kind of calculate the total cost of owning and driving that vehicle if it's electric compared to what you're doing now. So highly recommend checking out that EV savings calculator. There are a few links for information on charging options. I know charging can be confusing of whether you want a level 1 or a level 2, or when you don't own your home, where you're supposed to charge. We have a lot of good information on our website about how to walk you through those decisions and how to choose vendors that would be best suited for your situation. There's also an interactive map on PlugShare that will show you all the EV chargers in California. So super helpful if you're planning a road trip in your EV to make sure you can find where you're going to fuel up along the way. And then lastly, there's information on your rate plan. So especially if you're a homeowner, choosing which rate you're on so that you can manage your fueling costs, since now your EV charging will come through your PG&E bill, or as a business owner, a fleet owner, making sure you're on those right rates. So rates, again, a lot of words on these slides, so just hit the pictures. If you are a residential customer and you have an EV at your home and you're a PG&E customer, you have two options for your rate for an EV that's beneficial for EVs. One is a whole house EV rate called EV2A, that's the one on the left, and then we have an EVB rate. And the main difference is EVA is just your whole house is on the same PG&E meter. EVB is you have a separate meter for your electric vehicle. So that's the main difference, but the whole point of both of those rates is to provide you beneficial and lower pricing during the middle of the night to encourage EV charging during off-peak hours. So there's different prices depending on the different types of days. Best with these time of use rates, you can see it's 17 cents on the left to charge in the early morning hours versus 48 cents per kilowatt between 4 to 9 p.m. So that's the benefit of the rate, is it unlocks cheaper electricity for you to be able to fuel your vehicles at off-peak times. And then, oh, sorry, at the bottom of that slide is yes, question? Great question. So yes, to have a separate meter, there is an additional charge to install that meter. It can range, it can be about $1,000. Sometimes there are rebates. We're actually rolling out a program to provide rebates to help cover that cost. And then we're also testing some new technology to basically allow another meter, but have it be installed in your existing meter. So allow sub-metering. So we're working on 2 different ways to help customers install a separate meter without that upfront cost. But currently there is, yes. So we recently rolled out our business EV rate, which is important for fleet owners. They're big impact to their fueling prices can be demand charges. So basically what the business EV rate does is you can think of it as like a phone subscription. You pay a monthly subscription for how much energy you think you'll use. If you go over that subscription level, you'll have to pay a surcharge. But as long as you're below that, you just have a flat monthly fee. And that really helps fleet owners have kind of a stable level of costs to figure out what their fueling costs are going to be for their fleets. Highlight of some of the existing programs that PG&E is doing. So as I mentioned, our bread and butter is installing the infrastructure, so connecting the wires to the meter and the panel. We do that for any type of loads, whether you're installing a new hot tub or a water heater. You could go to PG&E and ask to install or connect your EV load, and we'll do that. We're working on streamlining our processes. We also just recently, this is probably too in the weeds for you, but we recently are implementing a new electric rule that will cover additional costs. So basically, PG&E will cover more costs that was traditionally assigned to the customer if you come and want to connect EV loads specifically. And then on the right, what we show here is our 4 flagship programs, and these are ones we're really proud of. Certain types of customers can come and enroll in the programs and participate and basically have the infrastructure installed for free. PG&E will cover the cost and coordinate the construction of the chargers at no cost to the customer. So a big way to encourage EV adoption through these programs. We have one that just completed and installed over 4,800 ports at workplaces and multifamily housing. We have our EV fleet program, which supports medium and heavy duty fleet owners install charging, and we're aiming to do that at over 700 customer sites. We have our EV fast charge, which is installing DC fast chargers at public sites to enable on-the-go fueling for passengers. And then lastly, we have our EV schools and parks, which is installing charging infrastructure at schools and at state parks and beaches to try to get more of that network built out so that wherever you go, you will have the comfort and the surety of being able to charge your EV. We are launching or have proposed to launch 2 programs. One is called Empower EV, and that's our equity-focused program, so for low and moderate income customers. Oftentimes, if you're looking to add an EV, you might have to upgrade your panel, and we are proposing a program to cover that panel upgrade cost for the customer. So the customer enrolls in the program, we cover the panel upgrade, we cover the installation, we cover the cost of the charger. So really trying to make access to EVs more equitable for those who are low and moderate income. And then on the right, we have, we just proposed a big new program called EV Charge 2, which aims to install 16,000 chargers at multifamily housing, at workplaces, and at public spots for DC fast charging. So again, trying to build out this charging network in California so that customers don't feel this range anxiety. That's one thing that we've heard a lot from our customers is, how do I know I'll be able to charge if I leave my house? I don't know I can get to where I'm going. And so installing more chargers in more places can help address that and make people feel more comfortable getting it. So I thought it'd be fun to show a little bit of like programs in action instead of just graphs of things that we've done. So the top is part of our EV fast charge program. We installed 4 DC fast chargers in West Sacramento at the 7-Eleven. Has anyone been there or seen these chargers? Oh, one person, great. So they are owned and operated by 7-Eleven, but they were installed and paid for by PG&E's EV fast charge program. And we're working to do similar installations at 50 other sites at the very least. We also did a pilot in San Joaquin for the Regional Transit District where we worked to help electrify their transit fleet and install some big overhead depot chargers and figure out how to lower the cost of ownership for the transit agency, given that they'll need to electrify all of their buses by 2040. Next slide. Thank you. This top one is another pilot that we did focused on transportation refrigeration units. So the big like Safeway distribution trucks that you see, they are refrigerated and they used to idle on the diesel engines. And so we did a pilot to electrify some of their TRUs and install 25 ports at their Albertsons distribution center in Tracy. So again, testing out, trying to find customers who are interested in being leaders in this space so that we can have proof of concept, we can get lessons learned, and we can showcase to others what is possible. And then the last example is a pilot we did with the Pittsburgh Unified School District, and they had electrified some of their buses and were interested in how to integrate the renewables they had on site, so solar and wind, how to integrate and be able to use that on-site renewable power generation in the charging of the buses that they had just got. So a really cool kind of pilot of how to do a fully integrated system at a school. And they were great to work with, super interested, and it was really cool. Okay, last slide about our programs, but I hope some of these might be relevant. You might be able to benefit from them. PG&E also participates in the low carbon fuel standard program. It's like a mini cap and trade for the transportation sector. What it means is PG&E generates revenue through this program and can use it to fund programs to support EV adoption for customers. So the top one is the California Clean Fuel Rewards Program. This is the flagship one. It's statewide. You can go to a dealership and get a $750 rebate off the price of your vehicle. Has anyone heard of this California Clean Fuel Reward? Maybe. Well, if you're in the market for a new EV and you go to a dealership, ask them about this. They should be able to offer it to you, and they should be telling you voluntarily, but it's always good to know what you're entitled to with these free rebates. And then the bottom half are, with that same pot of money, PG&E has proposed 5 new programs that we're hoping to get approval by the Public Utilities Commission soon. One, you'll be able to provide a rebate for a pre-owned electric vehicle, so $1,000 for anyone purchasing a pre-owned electric vehicle, and then $4,000 for anyone who's income qualified. So again, trying to address that equity gap. Yeah. These are just for PG&E customers, yes. Yeah, for electric customers. So some of you might be SMUD. SMUD probably does offer some LCFS rebates, but the bottom ones are specific for PG&E customers. So pre-owned EV rebate program, we've also proposed to install chargers at multi-unit dwellings and small businesses, already at those sites that have excess capacity, so trying not to cause an upgrade to the panel, but charging them where there is, installing them where there is excess capacity. We're also doing a resilient charging pilot, so in the event of a public safety power shutoff, we want to help customers be prepared before that grid outage by managing their charging by a third party. So basically, customers will enroll in a software platform. They get a notification about a potential PSPS event. The third-party software would control the charging of their vehicle to make sure they're charged up before that grid outage happens. So a way to provide resiliency for EV customers in the event of PSPS. We'll propose the residential charging solutions pilot, which is provide more information on charging options for customers who don't own their home, kind of fit in those neat buckets of, oh, I can charge at home or I can charge at work, and offer a rebate for a technology related to that. And then we have a small research and innovation fund to again try to keep this market moving, given how fast technology changes. We want to try to support that so that we can pilot the best solutions for our customers. And I think that's my last slide. So I can take questions now, or I can talk about anything else. Yes. Awesome. Yeah, it's a good question. Will PG&E's grid be able to support the faster power charging and the higher draw, especially for some of these larger vehicles when we start to electrify like Class 8 semi-trucks? The answer is yes, but it's yes with we do have a lot of work ahead of us. I think there's a lot of planning and grid readiness that needs to happen before that 2040, 2045 date and all these vehicles come online. But the great news is that is already in action, particularly with some of our wildfire grid hardening. So in general, we're doing a lot of investment and upkeep for our grid, a lot of capacity planning, so making sure that we have enough power ready for all these electric vehicles that will need fuel when they plug in, when they charge. But it is something that takes intentionality, and it also is something that we're having to work closely with our state regulators to make sure that we're approved to start some of this work, or approved to properly prepare for the EVs that will be coming. Big question is, where will these EVs show up, and when will they show up? We're all in this room pretty certain and hopeful that we'll reach these state goals, but from a grid perspective, if we prepare the grid in San Jose when all of a sudden all of the vehicles show up in Humboldt County, it doesn't matter that we've prepared the grid in San Jose. So that level of detail of geographic granularity, we're getting better at, and we're working with our customers to get a better understanding of how to do that. Yeah. Yes.
Or just working on just the options, the rates.
Good question. So he was asking about vehicle to grid integration, which I actually meant to include a slide up here. We have proposed 4 pilots to test the technology for vehicle to grid integration. It's still pretty nascent. It's about how a vehicle can not only take power from the grid and respond to signals that don't charge or start charging, but how it could also, as a battery on wheels, potentially discharge energy to the grid and provide kind of a power source to the grid if necessary. So the technology is being actively tested and piloted both for residential customers. So can you, as a homeowner with an EV, in the event of a power outage, be able to use your car to power your home? So we're piloting that to understand the technology needs, the costs, etc. We're also looking at it from a commercial perspective. We're looking how vehicles can integrate with microgrids. Are they a way to be kind of a smaller backup battery in those situations? Your question was specifically about the rates. I think right now the focus on the pilots is on the technology. And then I think the rates for when and how the vehicles will discharge and how they'll be compensated will come a little later. We are also doing a pilot to test real pricing, like day ahead, so that customers could kind of get a better and more accurate price for the energy based on the day ahead price instead of some of these longer term set rates like we have for the EV rate that I said. So there are interesting and new things happening in the rates, but that I think is going to be a little bit farther behind as we test the technology and get those standards in place.
If the new like the interconnect is available, can you put it to a car that's got the capability of bi-directional? If you got solar right now, because if you have solar, you're already power AC, it's converting to this adapter. So like PG&E has the ability to go bi-directional. Just that they don't sell the next one to you. So I'm just wondering.
I'm so sorry. Your
I'm
question.
just wondering if the rates are available right now for solar, why couldn't you do the same with the car right now and stay on the same rate plan? Or is it, do you have to clear up the PG&E before you start putting that power on the grid?
So basically, is it legal now?
The short answer is no. The long answer is yes, technically it's feasible, but PG&E as a regulated entity has many things we need to get approved, both from a security perspective. So some of those inverters, I know the only one approved in California is actually only for commercial uses, not residential. So we have to get that approved before we can, as PG&E, say this technology is safe for our customers to use. And then it's working to get a separate rate given the whole complicatedness of cost recovery. We can't just add the vehicle discharging as this counted as the same as solar, unfortunately.
Okay,
Oh,
one more.
I'm really quiet, so I have to have a mic. So is there any consideration for rates that are discounted during the day, like in the spring and fall when the solar is in excess and actually prices are negative? Is there any consideration for encouraging charging when prices are low? So like springtime from say 10 to 2 in the afternoon or 3 or 4 in the afternoon or in the fall. Because basically you've got excess solar, you don't have to cut the plate, you don't have to put it in the cost. So is there any consideration in looking at rates for that?
great question. And that kind of references the path that I was talking about. So when we set rates and the price of electricity, right, that's a long drawn out process with the CPUC. The cost of electricity is set. We have a certain time periods for how much the KWH. If you remember on the rate slide, right, we have really low prices right now during the night because traditionally that's when demand is low, so the cost of energy is low because there's not a lot of demand for it. However, what we're seeing with all these new renewables online, we're actually seeing a huge peak in available electricity at the middle of the day, so much so that we're having to burn it off. We don't have enough demand for that. However, so we're working on changing our rates, and this is actually for the business EV rate. We now have super off-peak prices in the middle of the day to encourage charging to soak up some of those renewables. We are also piloting that day-ahead real-time pricing, which should reflect like, oh, if there is an excess renewables, excess supply, then it should drop the price of electricity, and customers can respond accordingly.
Thank you, Sarah. And again, the pizza's just came.
Thank you.
Pizzas and soda. So let's do this. Let's take a 5-minute break. I want the kids, all of the kids with the SMUD Charge Up for Change program. Could I get you all to come up? I'd like to get you seated in those chairs up there near the stage. Okay, so not everything comes together at the last minute. It appears that we are, or whatever screw up on my part, one of the student videos that we wanted and really I wanted to see and share with you has not loaded onto my USB drive over there. So what we're about to share with you is 4 of the 5.
Hey you, yeah.
4 of the 5 middle school produced charge up for change competition videos. And these are 2-minute videos that are student produced to promote electric vehicles to the general public. And again, we want to thank SMUD for creating that program, promoting it, and there was money involved for the winners. So, can we have the first video up and running?
Screen. I'm going to tell you why EVs are cool in just 2 minutes. Whoa! Check this out! With crazy high prices like this, it costs 16 cents a mile for a gas-powered vehicle. With SMUD's low rates and special credits for EV owners, you can charge up for about 10 cents a kilowatt, which is about 4 cents a mile. So driving an EV could be 4 times cheaper per mile. We all know that the exhaust and burning fossil fuels hurt our planet. And welcome to SMUD's Rancho Seco, where there's hundreds and hundreds of solar panels, so you know the power SMUD provides is environment friendly. Let's show our planet some love. What's up with this big line? Oh, it's to go get gas. I don't want to stand in this line. Isn't it so much easier to plug in at the comfort of your home? Just plug in when you come home every evening. No waiting in line. Simple. TVs nowadays are super cool. They got some pretty stylish features. Bye. There are so many charging stations nowadays, it's so easy to find one. I mean, you could literally run into one. There's SMUD.org to learn more about how EVs are cool. And that's 2 minutes. Hey you! Yeah, you!
Last thing, you want to stand up? There's our video start. Very good. And I'm going to give a 30-second synopsis of the video that somehow didn't load, because essentially Judah, stand up if you will, Judah, and I've already apologized, and I'll now apologize to him publicly. Judah's production involved a youthful fantasy of stealing his family car when he's about 3 years old and driving it, and then looking forward as he's about this age to taking the family electric car out, which was going to be even more fun to drive. But it's a video that, again, we'll have the link for you, but you really need to look at that one. It's hilarious. And, you know, he's going to have a big future as a producer on Saturday Night Live. Thanks, Judah. Okay, can we have the next video that we're playing?
Reporting live. Today we are going to interview the great businessman Rohan G about his new electric car. Oh, here he is.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. G. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
How do you like your new electric car?
I like it very much. Oh boy, there's so many cool features. I can't wait to tell you all about them.
Oh, is it too expensive now?
It's double the normal price, but it is definitely worth it.
Oh, what are the advantages of having an electric car?
There are many advantages, but the first that comes to mind are the environmental benefits. Owning a gas car can put lots of bad carbon into the atmosphere, which is bad for the environment and us. But if you drive an electric car, it does not harm the environment.
Electric cars are also cheaper to charge. If you were to charge an electric car, it would add minimal money to your electricity bill. While fueling a gas car at a gas station is kind of a waste of money.
Oh, yeah. Is there any difference in mileage?
Actually, yeah. Electric cars have a better mileage and less fuel dependence than a gas car, which means electric vehicles can drive for longer without having to recharge.
Oh, wow. After hearing all this, I think I should buy an electric car.
Well, you should. It's been great for my family in this car.
Okay, that's great information. Thank you, bye. That was Jaguar News, electric car versus gas car. Signing off.
And this is our producer there. Thank you. Stop Axe's video. Very good. Next.
Hello, everybody. Pull out your research projects about EVs, please. Okay, Charlie, you can go first. Do you have any reasons why EVs are a good investment?
If you the planet, did you know fir trees grow in your lungs?
Kelly Miller?
Based on my research, gas cars cost 12 more cents to fill than an EV per mile.
Spacer?
You also save money because there are less car parts you do not have to look at as often. And some examples of an EV is the Chevy Volt, Volkswagen e-Golf, and a Tesla.
And we have a special guest from SMUD to talk about why EVs are such good cars. EVs are revolutionary and are saving our planet. But not just cars can be electric. Planes, helicopters, bikes, and other vehicles can be electric too.
I didn't know other vehicles could be electric.
Would anyone like to make a summary about EVs? Shadow?
My dad has an electric motorcycle.
Do you have anything else to say?
My dad has an electric motorcycle.
Continue?
You want me to blabber more? Well, did you know I'm the top not ever?
No, your summary.
I'll just do it. EVs come in all shapes and sizes, and you might be wondering, well, what should I buy you? First of all, they save the planet. Second, you save $1,500 per year. And lastly, they're fun to drive around. They accelerate fast and are very quiet, and that is why you should buy an EV.
Aaron and John, can you stand up?
Oh hi, that is Zia. My bad, my apologies. Today, we're going to be talking about why electric vehicles are better than gas vehicles, and why you should get it today, if not, next week, or next month.
Number one.
Number one, electric vehicles help you by meaning that vehicles produce air pollution, making them help energy control. Number two, you save money, meaning that energy is less needed than you have to pay for a regular gas tank. They are more safer because they have a heavy car battery, so if they ever do get into a car crash, the force will be something. Number four, electric vehicles are comfortable, they're quiet, and they drive smooth, and they have better heat. Also, they have parking units where they have charging spots, so if you're at the store or if you have to actually nap, it can charge at that time. Number five, and if you're wondering who's not that many charging spots out here, don't worry, because Sacramento has about 5,000 charging spots out here, so you don't have to worry. For those who guys need to advise you, because I know just how helping friends like me, you, and everybody else that you know about.
Rina, how are you able to change spots with each post?
Okay, we don't have Rena as our one member, but again, well done. And one more. Okay, that's all we have right now. Okay, so what I wanted to do is to, again, just ask each of our youths a quick question. And who wants to start? Nobody wants to start. Okay. So the question is, why is Sacramento so important an area to have electric vehicles?
I think it might be because Sacramento is really densely populated, so with a bunch of gas cars, it would cause a lot of pollution. Whereas with electric cars, it would make almost no pollution.
Good stuff. Very good stuff. Anybody want to add to that one?
Also, Eureka and Reno have more. They have more trees, and so it's better for the environment because they can take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen into the atmosphere.
So they have a more sort of environmental cleaning process up there. Okay. Anybody else?
So Sacramento also has a lot of businesses that want to create more electric cars, and because of this kind of need for it, it's important to move to Sacramento because it's a big city and there's a lot of people that can use them.
Good. Anybody else? Well, one of the things that I would add is this gets away from the cars, but it gets to the trees and things like that. Is Sacramento has what's called an inversion layer that keeps the air from circulating, so that all of the smog goes up, gets trapped, comes right back down at us. So it's just, places like Redding are not even quite as bad as Sacramento. But we have all these cars here, and people are driving everywhere. So, again, quick summary. Why are electric cars better than gas cars?
They save the planet, and they are cheaper than gas cars to fill. And also they have less carbon, so you don't have to fill them very fast.
One of the things that all of us old people know about electric cars, which you should know though, they're more fun to drive. Okay, thanks, kid. And again, thank you. It's really your generation that's going to change the world. So don't put any limits on what you're going to be doing. Thank you. Is David and Eric and is Zachary here? There we go. Okay, our next presentation, finishing our evening, is an update for those of us and all the rest of you that are looking at the next generation of autonomous cars. Tesla is moving further in many ways in terms of making that process available. And the three speakers are going to be sharing their experience with the newest, latest version of Tesla's full self-driving beta.
So, my name is Dave Tokarski, and I'm one of the board members of SacEV, also a Tesla driver. I've had my Model 3 for 3.5, going on 4 years now. I bought the full self-driving option for the car a couple of years ago, and have been very eagerly awaiting for it to become available, at least at some level, to start getting the benefits of that program. Tesla, not exactly a year ago, started allowing a small number of beta users, mostly employees and some others, to start testing the capabilities of the cars. And when they did that, they only, about a year ago, it was only about 100 to 200 people who they were letting do it. But just recently, in the last month or so, they started pushing out the full self-driving beta to a larger group of beta testers. I think it's probably getting close to about 10,000 people now actually have the beta on their cars and are testing it out on local roadways. Some of you may know Tesla's got a program called Autopilot, which is for freeways and larger rural roadways, where the program will keep the distance between you and the car in front of you. It'll change lanes for you if you put on your turn signal and do things like that. But it has always been limited to just freeways and interchange to interchange driving on freeways and major roadways. And with the beta FSD, they're expanding that on the local streets. And what they made people do is they basically did a safety score for everybody who wanted to try out the software, and have been slowly releasing it to people based on those scores. And some of us here have been lucky enough to get it. So it's a pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. It you can set your destination using the navigation system on the car, and the idea is that it will take you door to door from where you're starting to where you're finishing. It will turn on the turn signals for you, it will change lanes for you, it will watch for pedestrians and bicyclists and any other obstacles that you need to watch out for, obviously, when you're driving. On the scale of autonomous driving, the scale of autonomous driving goes from level 0, which is absolutely no vehicle control, to level 5, which is complete vehicle control, no driver needed, no steering wheel, no brake pedal, no accelerator, nothing. It's a bit unclear as to exactly what level full self-driving is at the moment, but most people are estimating it's probably about somewhere between level 2 and level 3, where you have to keep your eyes on the road, you have to keep your hands on the wheel, and you have to maintain control of the car while the car is doing things for you. And so far, my experiences they've been mixed. There's certain times when it does things really well. It will put on your turn signal for you. It'll take a turn, and it won't scare you sometimes. And sometimes it will scare you a little bit because it'll stop ahead of the intersection where you're trying to go to, or it might take a turn a little bit tighter than you're comfortable with. But it's definitely a work in progress. If you happen to be behind a Tesla on the road and it seems to be driving very slow, there's a chance that it might be on full self-driving. It might be somebody testing it. And we've got some pictures of some of the screens that come up on the car. But I'm going to pass it over to the next presenter and we'll show you some of the screens. Oh, actually, I guess I'll just show you this is from my car. So what you can see is what it's doing there is it's using the cameras in the car to draw out the roadway, draw out the lane markings, the curbs, the cars that are either in front of you, to the side of you, parked on the side of the road, or driving on the road. The yellow or the blue dots represent your path that the car is planning on following. There's some new updates that this is showing that have just gone into effect as of a couple days ago, where it's now showing crosswalks, it's now showing speed bumps, and other markings on the roadways as obstacles or reasons to slow down. But the other neat thing about Tesla and the way they operate their software on the cars is it's just like if an update comes out for your phone, it's just like that. If an update comes out, your car will download it and install overnight, or in the comfort of your garage or wherever you're parked, and you don't have to really do anything yourself. So,
yeah, hi, I'm Zachariah Johnson. Let me first start off that achieving and maintaining a safety score of 100 is like literally playing the worst driving game ever, and you can't stop. But eventually succeeded and was rewarded by gaining access to the program. So the first few days were pretty rocky for me. I almost felt like I really needed a second pair of pants for the first few drives. So it was a little scary. But after maybe 3 or 4 days, I got kind of used to supervising the cars driving. So yeah, a lot of times it can work really well. Like sometimes I can actually leave from my driveway and get to my destination with no interventions at all. But other times it can be a little scary. I don't want to portray it as too negatively, but
it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I'll go even farther. It's kind of like you have to be ready for the artificial intelligence driver of your car to spontaneously be replaced with a drunk 14-year-old from time to time. So it's a little nerve-wracking. So yeah, I've been, after a week or so, I decided I'd start taking videos. So there's like a little paper on the wall over there with like a link to a YouTube channel if you guys want to see some candid videos showing the good and the bad. And yeah, I think we could open up to a few questions.
Okay, and Eric in the back also has it. He's working.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. He's working the AV equipment, but he's available to help answer questions as well if anybody's got any.
Yeah, I'm sure one of us can answer a question. Go ahead. He's asking if I ran any fire trucks or ambulances. No negative interactions with any emergency vehicles for me.
So no, I haven't either. One limitation that Autopilot has had for a long time, and that has made the news quite a bit, is that it is not designed to be coming up on stationary vehicles, in the roadway when you're going 60 miles an hour. It's not an excuse for distracted or unattentive driving. So they do say to watch for non-moving large vehicles.
Yeah, again, you have to really pay really close attention all the time. However, Tesla did implement a feature recently where it does detect emergency vehicles, and it will actually slow the car down automatically in that situation. Yes?
In California, you have to be licensed to drive an autonomous car. Is anybody driving these cars licensed to drive?
They're technically not considered autonomous by Tesla, so that's kind of how they get around that. Yeah, when I drive, I literally have at least one hand on the wheel, like, all the time. And I used to look at my phone sometimes while I'm driving. I don't do it at all now.
And yeah, I think the licensing for autonomous vehicles, I can't remember if that's for level 3 and up or level 4 and up, like for Waymo and Google and others who are doing full autonomous driving testing. That's for vehicles that do not have a driver in the driver's seat.
It sounds like you guys are testing autonomous vehicles.
We're testing vehicles with some approaching autonomous capabilities.
Yeah, again, I will never get full self-driving, assigned to me in this beta stage because my safety score, they assess, I don't think you went over that, but to be able to get into that test group, you have to have a driver safety score of 99 or 100, and I've never been above 86. something about sharp accelerations and abrupt turns that seem to get me out of the pool. And I'm okay with that. And again, thank you, gentlemen. I want to extremely thank Eric in the back. He was able to resurrect Judah's video. So, yay! We're going to get to see. And Judah's video was the #2 ranked. And again, it's hilarious.
Or my dad does electric car. I had a habit of borrowing his cars. And one time that got me into a little bit of trouble.
Attention all units, we have a vehicle on site heading north 170
I still don't know how they got that caught on camera. Anyways, I can't wait to get my hands on this car now that it's electric. For starters, EVs are so much faster than gas-powered cars because their electric motors are over 90% efficient and have so much more torque. In fact, the fastest production car in the world is an electric vehicle, and it can get from 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds. And look, no engine under the hood. And did you know that electric cars have regenerative braking? That means that when you slow down, you're actually recharging your battery instead of just wasting all the energy wearing out your brake pads. Also, if you have solar on your house and you charge your car at home, you're actually powering your car straight from the sun. And that's what I call clean energy. And with SMUD on your side, they give special discounts for those who register their EVs with SMUD. And if you do the math, with the current high gas prices, that makes driving an EV about 1/8 the cost of driving a gas car. And that's not even including the oil changes or smog tests of the gas car. And with advancing technology, some electric cars are currently able to go 350 miles on a single charge. And that means that my little outings will just last me a little bit longer. So I can't wait until I get my driver's license so I can finally drive this awesome car. But until then, hey Dad?
Yeah.
I think I left my backpack in the car. Can I borrow the keys?
Thank you, Judah. Thank you all. And I think I heard a motion for adjournment.